Have you ever tried to build a campfire on a cool, dark evening? You do not start by throwing a giant, heavy log onto a single tiny match. If you do that, the tiny flame will simply suffocate and die. You have to start with a small spark. You feed that spark with tiny, fragile pieces of dry grass. You blow on it gently, protecting it from the wind with your hands. You add small twigs, then slightly larger branches, and only when the fire is hot, roaring, and dancing do you finally add the heavy wood to keep it burning through the night. Starting and continuing a conversation in English is exactly like building that fire. Most learners try to throw the heavy logs, deep, complex topics, controversial opinions, or flawlessly constructed grammatical paragraphs into the very first second of an interaction. The conversation immediately suffocates. The silence becomes awkward and heavy. The fire dies before it ever had a chance to warm the room. Welcome back to Lucky English for Beginners. I am absolutely delighted to have you with me today. Find a comfortable chair, maybe pour yourself a cup of warm tea, and let the noise of the outside world fade away for a while. Today we are going to learn how to strike the perfect match, build the kindling, and keep the fire of human connection burning brightly. This is your masterclass on the art of natural, fearless conversation. Part 1: The small spark of observation. When you want to start a conversation with a stranger or an acquaintance, do not search your brain for a brilliant, philosophical opening line. You don't need to be Shakespeare, you just need to be observant. The absolute easiest way to strike the match is to talk about the shared environment. Look around you. You and this other person are sharing a physical space, which means you already have something in common. If you are at a cafe, you can say, "This place is always so busy on a Friday, isn't it?" If you are waiting for a train, you can sigh and say, "I think the trains are getting slower every single day." If you are at an event, you can say, "The music they are playing today is fantastic, don't you think?" By making an observation about the environment, you are inviting the other person into a shared reality. It is a zero-pressure invitation. If they smile, nod, and agree, the match is officially lit. Part 2: The podcast host mindset. Once the match is lit, many learners panic. They think, "Oh no, now I have to talk about myself, I have to use perfect past tense verbs." This is a massive trap. The best conversationalists in the entire world are not the ones who do all the talking, they are the ones who do the brilliant asking. Imagine you are the host of a welcoming, highly engaging audio show. Pretend you are sitting behind the microphone, recording a brand new episode of Sania's English podcast. A great podcast host doesn't lecture their guest. They make their guest feel like the most fascinating person in the room. They ask open-ended questions. Instead of asking, "Do you live here?" which gets a boring yes or no, ask, "How did you end up living in this city?" Instead of asking, "Is your food good?" ask, "What made you choose that dish?" When you adopt the mindset of a curious interviewer, the pressure falls completely off your shoulders. You let the other person provide all the kindling for the fire. Part 3: The oxygen of active listening and the echo. A fire needs oxygen to survive, and a conversation needs active listening. Sometimes a conversation starts to slow down. The flame flickers, the other person finishes their thought, and your mind goes completely blank. You don't know what to ask next. This is when you use the echo technique. It is a secret weapon used by therapists and expert communicators. If the person you are talking to says, "I just got back from a really difficult trip to London," you simply take the most important emotion or noun from their sentence, repeat it as a question, and pause. Them, "I just got back from a really difficult trip to London." You, "A difficult trip." That is it, just 3 words and an upward inflection. By echoing their statement, you prove that you are listening deeply, and you give them the perfect excuse to expand on their story. They will immediately say, "Yes, my flight was delayed for 6 hours and then I lost my luggage." You just breathed oxygen back into the flame. Part 4: Building fast twitch reflexes. A conversation is not a speech, it is a tennis match. You have to react quickly to the ball coming over the net. If you have to translate every incoming sentence into your native language, formulate an answer, and translate it back to English, you will miss the ball completely. The conversation will feel laggy and robotic. This is exactly why undertaking a 5-day English shadowing challenge is an absolute necessity for natural conversation. When you listen to a native speaker, and immediately echo their exact words a split second later, you are building the fast-twitch muscle fibers of your tongue and brain. You are training your physical reflexes to process and produce sound simultaneously. When you step into a real conversation, your mouth already knows how to move quickly to keep the rhythm alive without needing to pause for translation. Part 5. Dropping the heavy logs of vocabulary. Once the conversation is flowing warmly and the basic small talk is out of the way, it is time to add the heavy logs. You want to move past the weather and add real color, humor, and personality to the interaction. This is where a massive, dedicated project, like mastering a complete curriculum of 500 English idioms, pays off beautifully. When your conversation partner tells a crazy story about their boss and you respond by saying, "Wow, it sounds like you really dodged a bullet," or "I guess he just wanted to cut corners," you instantly elevate the chat. Idioms are the cultural shorthand that proves you aren't just reading from a rigid textbook. A well-placed idiom is a massive log that will keep a conversation burning with high energy for another 20 minutes. It makes the native speaker feel like they are talking to an insider. Part 6. Navigating the silence. In any conversation there will be moments of silence. In your native language, a 3-second pause feels totally normal. But in English, a 3-second pause feels like a terrifying disaster. You panic, thinking you have done something wrong. You must learn to become comfortable with the pause. Silence is not your enemy, it is the space where thoughts are formed. If the conversation pauses, do not rush to fill it with nervous, random words. Just take a slow sip of your coffee, smile slightly, and let the moment breathe. Often the other person will jump in to fill the silence themselves. If they don't, you can smoothly transition the topic by saying, "You know, that actually reminds me of," or "By the way, I meant to ask you earlier." Part 7. The 30-day momentum habit. You cannot become a master fire builder if you only practice starting fires once a year. The fear of starting a conversation is only cured through relentless, daily repetition. Design a 30-day English learning challenge for yourself, where your only goal is to start one tiny interaction every single day. It does not have to be a deep, philosophical debate. Ask the barista how their morning is going. Compliment a coworker's jacket and ask where they got it. Ask a stranger for a recommendation at the grocery store. By day 15, the terrifying act of starting a conversation will become a totally normal, boring reflex. By day 30, you will walk into a room actively looking for the next fire to build. You will crave the connection. Part 8. The graceful exit. Not every conversation is meant to last forever. Sometimes, the wood burns out, and that is completely natural. A confident speaker knows how to gracefully end an interaction without making it feel awkward or abrupt. Do not wait until the silence becomes painful and you are both staring at the floor. When you feel the energy naturally dipping, take control of the exit. Smile warmly, use their name if you know it, and say, "Well, it has been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I'm going to go grab another coffee, but I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I won't keep you any longer, but it was so great catching up." You leave them with a warm, positive feeling, and you exit the stage with total confidence. Part 9. Your final masterpiece. My lucky learners, every stranger you see is a library of stories just waiting to be read. The English language is the key that unlocks those doors. Do not be afraid of the first spark. Do not worry if the first match blows out in the wind because you used the wrong verb tense or stumbled over a word. Just pick up another match, smile, and try again. The world wants to talk to you. They want to hear your stories, your humor, and your unique perspective. You just have to invite them to the fire. Keep practicing, keep improving, and keep being lucky. I will be right here, waiting to walk the next mile of this beautiful mystery with you. Bye for now. As you think about taking this script into the real world, what is one specific, low-pressure environment, like a local cafe or a specific class, where you feel comfortable testing out the small spark of observation this